Yo, what's going on? It's your boy Akil. We're getting political this time because I got a comment from a viewer in one of my videos, and I thought it was really important that I give my opinion on the topic related to the recent right wing movement going on in Japan. And let me just read it for you guys. He asked um, basically that a few other channels, a lot of other channels from my algorithm, have been speaking on the rise of anti-immigration sentiment in Japan, and he just want ask for my perspective and any changes that I've seen going on in the country. So I'm gonna try my best to give some context of it based on what I've seen, heard from Japanese media, Japanese people that I've talked to, and also some of the YouTube content as well. We'll also look at a couple of videos and even some direct information from the notorious Sanseito party this time. We'll get into it. I'll try my best to be as neutral as possible. You might see a few edits here because I might have to stop and reorganize my thoughts because it is politics. I want to make sure that I organize my thoughts and express what I want to say as clearly as possible. So let's do it. So before I get into the first video, I want to get a few things out there to be clear. First off, my political stance, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but if I think it is important for the information that I give you guys, because like all the information I've seen online recently, especially related to politics, is extremely left wing, extremely right wing. There's really nothing in the middle. I think not really. You know, it seems like it's like sports teams now. It seems like the environment in the West, specifically in America, has become extremely polarized for several reasons, which I have opinions on, mainly economic, in my opinion. But I'll leave that conversation for another day. But generally, if I had to classify myself, I'd say I'm a left-leaning conservative, which I don't know where that puts me. I'm just kind of like neutral, because I'm in Japan. To be honest with you, it related to American politics. I try to uh, neutrally observe what's going on and then formulate my own opinions issue by issue. I don't just necessarily get. It seems like there's a lot of emotion ruling the day, but let me know with the comment. Again, I'm not trying to get too deep into that because we're here based for Japan politics, but I do think that's important. My views on Donald Trump: I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's a president. He is what he is, and some stuff I can understand the direction they're going in. Some stuff I disagree with. I don't think it's all or nothing. I don't try and throw out the baby with the bathwater. I personally, I am want to see what happens in America on my next trip. I want to see what happens in America over the next year or two to just kind of see how the political and economic, for me specifically, economic landscape in America develops over the next year or so. Again, I'm putting that out there just so that you can kind of take what I'm about to say about the Sanseito in that context. I feel like a lot of the content that I've been seeing related to this issue has come from like each extreme side point of view, and either fear mongering that Japan is turning into MAGA, or cheerleading it in like, yeah, the movement is spreading, whatever that means, and I think those are both really hyperbolic and probably done for the algorithm in some cases. So I've chosen two videos that I think represent a more Japan centric, neutral point of view for it. And then, as always, I'll give my opinion on top of that. So let's get into it.
Is anti-immigration sentiment growing in Japan? Japanese first, a silent invasion of immigrants. That's the message of a right-wing fringe party trying to tap into voter frustration ahead of Sunday's elections. The Sanseito Party was launched in 2020 by a guy who borrows U.S. President Donald Trump's, quote, bold political style. The party's blamed migrants for stealing jobs and driving up crime. But actually, while the number of foreign residents has doubled in the past 20 years, crimes committed during that same period have gone down. Also, with a growing labor shortage, Japan has said it needs migrants just to keep daily life running. But this right-wing party is gaining ground, especially among men under 40. Analysts say that's happening because they're capitalizing on voter frustration over rising prices and a weak yen. The yen has drawn in record tourist numbers, but has pushed up costs for locals. But make no mistake, this isn't MAGA. Even a big win for the party would just give them a fraction of seats in Japan's upper house. Still, they've shifted the political conversation enough that the ruling party just launched a task force targeting, quote, crimes and disorderly conduct by foreigners, and promised to pursue, quote, zero illegal foreigners.
So okay, that was a lot of information right there, right? As always, the link to the original videos are going to be in the comment section if you want to go back and break that down yourself. But a few points that were raised in this video. First, the Sanseito party is a very, like she said, fringe party. It's that was recently started. Now you might think like, oh no, but you have to understand Japan has a parliamentary system, which means it's not like a two-party system. There's like so many. I'll try and find some type of picture to kind of let you know, illustrate how many political parties there are in Japan. But if it's up there, it's gonna be there. If not, I couldn't find it. But but so for a new party to come onto the scene, they got a few seats in the last election. Um, the issues that she raised, are kind of class based. Immigration, weak yen, things like that. Those are kind of class based issues, if you really think about it. And I saw a news report by a person who's really a supporter of the Sanseito party. It was blue collar guy, unmarried, I think living in the countryside, working like I forgot, some agricultural type job, and basically he was saying he felt left behind. And in Japan, that's even more than the MAGA movement in America. That's really really important because if you might have heard me say it, the concept of Japan is that Japanese people were in it together, and there is no separation of classes here. But in reality, this class separation has been increasing for the past several years. I would say for me, I call it the past decade, ever since Prime Minister. Again, I'm more central banking focused, economics for macroeconomics focused in my how it trickles down to the rest of the economy. And so, just a little quick history lesson. I think it was 2016 or 14. I forgot, maybe 14. I think. Where the Japanese Prime Minister Kuroda really changed the mindset, made an inflationary mindset for Japan. Basically, just started printing a bunch of cash, boosted up the stock market and stuff like that, trying to break Japan's deflationary, like 30-year, 25-year-ish stagnant economy. But side effect of that is that it boosted asset prices. So you had the stock market going high, you had real estate going high, and people who own those assets, their level of wealth increased exponentially compared with people who were in blue collar or lower class jobs. So that's going to create some friction in a country that says we're all the same, right? And on top of that, 2020, even more, economic expansion, easing, and things like that, along with which also blah blah blah. The weak yen happens. Those kind of things make inflation started creeping into the country, not manageable inflation. And we're in runaway inflation right now in Japan. And so if you have people who are in, the lower levels of classes feel kind of frustrated by that. In addition, one thing that she didn't talk about in her video, which is a big reason why this party was able to gain seats, is because of the LDP, which is a ruling party, has been like for the past century, basically. I think they had like 50 years where they just ruled, parliament basically, and just had prime ministers and stuff like that. They had with this issue, I haven't heard any uh, YouTubers talk about, but it's a really big issue here domestically. If you're talking about how this party was able to gain popularity in the last election, basically last year, I think it was, the ruling party, the LDP, Liberal Democratic Party, was caught up in a huge slush money scandal, right? Where basically politicians were basically handing out envelopes of cash to each other at different events, which is a big no-no in Japanese society. Giving favoritism or money, of course it happens, but if it's like comes to light, it was a huge stain on the reputation of that party, on top of the fact that former Prime Minister Abe, who was kind of one of the more powerful central figures in the party, was assassinated several years ago. Hate him or love him, domestically, he was like a unifying figure for the party, but he's out of the picture. So there's been like a power vacuum that's been going on in Japanese politics for the past couple of years. Plus, inflation has creeped in, which makes Japanese people even more unhappy with the situation. And the slush money situation on top of that, confidence in the Liberal Democratic Party was just at a low, all-time low. And I talked to several Japanese people that how voters voice their frustration in those situations was by either voting for other parties in the election or in the last election, or just not voting at all, abstaining from voting. So the power base of the ruling party lost, and other smaller political parties were able to gain traction. And Sanseito was one of them. A little bit later in the video, I'll show you some of the, I don't know. This is the Japanese like charge kind of thing. The political promises, campaign promises they've been making, but you'll see why they were also able to gain some traction with that kind of audience. But anyway, let's get into the next video, which is a comedian Ishida. I really like his stuff, and he kind of puts I think, a more Japanese centric view on spin on the situation. The first reporter, she's kind of, thinking about it in comparison to American politics and how it relates to foreign people. But to really understand the issue, I think the core of what the issue is, I think it's better to really look at it from a domestic point of view. So let's take a look at what he says.
A new political party called Sanseito gained huge support in Japan. They won many seats in the upper house election. They promote a Japan-first policy, but many intellectuals and old media call them like cult, far-right, or anti-intellectual. In fact, in every developed country, the more immigrants get accepted, the more right-wing parties grow. We are now a proud member of the Western Problems Club. Last year, Japan had a record of 3.8 million foreign residents, but that's still just 3% of the total population. Many Japanese people feel poorer economically. They ask, why are foreigners favored when our own lives are tough or Look at the wealthy intellectuals. They talk about the importance of multiculturalism and diversity, all while looking down at the city from the top floors of the fancy towers.
You can kind of see, of course, he jokes about it and things like that. But the most important thing towards the end of the video is the difference between the haves and the have-nots here in Japan, right? Where lower class people in rural towns feel like they're being left behind, basically. I think foreign tourists just kind of get the brunt of it, just because it's like, for me, it's a Japanese issue, not really a foreign issue. Japanese people I think, are this whole thing about foreign people is just the growing pains of Japan becoming internationalized. Like, Japanese people don't really know how to deal with the not being able to control the amount of foreign people come in. I was talking to my buddy the other day. I was like, it's kind of like a Japanese way. They want the money from foreign people, but they don't want the foreign people to be in the country, really. You know what I mean? Like, they just want to like set up like a donation box in the airport and just have people stuff cash in it and go back to their country. It's kind of what, what it really comes down to. But it doesn't really work like that. So in some ways, people get kind of scapegoated in that way. Yes, there are some incidents that have been happening, just because, unfortunately, some crime, things like that. I would say it's not like the first video talked about the number of crimes. Again, I don't know that statistic, but I would say it's not the number so much. Every time on the news, a foreign person does something, or on the internet, a foreign person does something, that becomes an issue for Japanese people, right? It can be one person, one stupid YouTuber blasting music on the train, one drunk tourist, not knowing like what to do with their huge suitcases, those issues disturbing the peace of Japan, the Japanesiness of Japan for Japanese people is the main issue, in my opinion, for them. Again, me personally, I'm like, y'all just gotta deal with it, man. This is just chalk it up to the game. Like, this comes with the territory, but can't really say that, for a lot of people who just aren't really used to it. It's just a cultural kind of concept. Japan is an island country, and I don't like. Again, he said only 4 people make up 3% of the country, right? So this whole diversity, internationalization kind of thing, it's in pockets and in major cities, in projects, because tourism is needed for the Japanese economy to survive in the future, right? And so big heavy hitters, or people with kind of political economic power understand this point, and they're trying to entice that money in the country. But everyday people, they only care about what their lives are like. They see their prices going up. They see foreign people acting crazy on, on the news, you know, and they see more and more rich people, the price of the stock market going higher, and they don't get any benefit from that. So their frustration gets funneled into groups like this. That's kind of really what I think the gist of what's going on is. And it's very easy to compare it to what happened in America in the last election, but it's not an apples to apples kind of thing. Just because, you know, the presidential election, again, just to recap, the presidential election in America is really based on one individual person's merit. The Congress and the executive branch are really separate, but in Japan, they're linked. The prime minister is basically based on the number of seats in parliament. So basically, whoever has the most seats wins the prime ministership, and then within the party, they choose the prime minister or the equivalent of the president, which we got a lot of drama going on with that right now. I think Japan, the ruling party, basically making some concessions in regard to Sanseito is just because, you know, they're trying to kiss ass basically, and and you know, make people not hate them for it and forget about the slush money situation that was going on before, and, you know, kind of ease the frustration of many of the blue collar or lower class people in the country. That's just my speculation on what's going on. You know, if it wasn't an issue, I don't think they would talk about it at all. But it's just political posturing, in my opinion, to win some Kool-Aid points. So now let's take a look at some of the what the Sanseito party is promising, and I think this is something that you're probably not gonna hear a lot of people, other YouTubers and stuff, really talk about, because it's all in Japanese, first of all. So, so I'm gonna just give a quick summary of a few of the points. There are three main points. I think is kind of raising Japanese people, protecting Japanese people, and I would say like nurturing Japanese people. So or the Japanese economy. So the first one, a few of the points. Again, a few of the kanji I don't really know, but I'm just gonna skim through them. So reducing taxes, right, is one thing. Sorry, I'm leaning over looking at my laptop, but reducing taxes is one, right. Katsu sangyo. So revitalizing winning industries in Japan. So that kind of means, like, you know, basically industries that Japan has the advantage of. They're going to invest in kind of revitalizing them. 行き過ぎた外国人では反対. So not allowing too many foreign people within the country. Now, those sound like, for again, someone who I said is their potential voting bloc, sounds good to them, right? Because those are their complaints. Taxes are too high. My industry is being, you know, just gutted, and I think there are too many foreign people in the country. But this party doesn't have the political power to do any of that. It's easy to say, and this is from Japanese people. I've talked to several Japanese people about this list. Like, yeah, it's real easy to say that, but there's no way you can do any of that, right? Also, to protect it, so food, especially rice, because rice has been the price of rice doubled this year for a lot of different reasons, but also it doubled because of how do I explain it? The internal system of selling rice. Japan has a lot of middlemen in everything, so it's a lot of people with their hands in the pot, and the government can't really control it. So, so you have all these internal groups, and of course there are weather factors as well. But you also have like a lot of like organizations and middlemen and stuff like that boosting the price for people because they really weren't making enough money. And it's easy to say, like, well, foreign people are coming to Japan, so they're using a lot more rice, so there's not enough rice for people. It's just a scapegoat, but they want to protect the rice stock. Go to travel, which is another thing. By lowering the cost of medical bills, so they'll lower medical bills prices. Again, to do that by go to travel, it was like during the era of Corona in like around 2020. There was to get people to incentivize people to revitalize rural parts of Japan, they had this travel coupon thing where the government will give you like a kind of coupon if you went to different. But it didn't work. It was a hot mess. But they want to just bring back that so that they can lower medical costs. No idea how that will work at all. It's complete gobbledygook, right? And the WHO, they'll be against um, the WHO and pandemic stuff. Again, that's just more anti-vaxxer stuff, typical, more again, right-wing related kind of stuff. I won't touch that one. And then the third one, sorry, it's a little bit small. Oh yeah, and that's right. The next one is more about because dealing with depopulation in Japan, so making it cheaper for schools, giving each child a stipend of 100,000 yen, which is like $1,000 a month. No way that's happening, right? But it sounds good. It sounds sexy, right? And the last one, I forgot what the last one is. I can't read all the kanji, but anyway, so you can see, it's a lot of stuff that really sounds good. They have just a very small amount of seats in the parliament. I imagine that their influence will grow, in the next election as well. I'm giving them that. Because they're saying feel good, sound bites. It sounds good, but especially in the problem with Japan, because there are so many political parties, as their influence grows, the growing pains of a political party in the parliamentary system really come into play, and actually they'll have to try to implement some of the stuff they're trying to do, and historically that really didn't work. Even the biggest opposition party, which gained power in Japan after I think the 2008, the recession, the Great Recession in 2008, they finally, after like 50 years in power, the Liberal Democratic Party was usurped by the Democratic Party in Japan. I know it's confusing. And they got in, they were the biggest opposition party. They got in and it was a hot mess, right? And then they got kicked out, and then the Liberal Democratic Party came back to running things. So, there's also another political party, like the NHK party here in Japan. It's nonsense. All the stuff about, if you hear about, you remember the Joker um, politician, and it all kind of came as a result of this. One party which chose one issue and used kind of internet PR, viral marketing to create a buzz to actually get seats in the parliament. And then once they did, they got even more of a following. But they got to a certain point where they had to kind of put up or shut up with their political clout, and they just really couldn't do it, and the whole deck of cards just came crumbling down. I kind of think something similar might happen with Sanseito. I do see them, just me, my observation, a complete BS hot take. I imagine that they're going to gain more political influence because, again, it's easier to just kind of, coach from the sidelines. But once, and either they'll use that influence to try to push a little bit small kind of pieces of their agenda to the ruling party, just because they're in such a weak position right now. And then they can be like, see, we're doing it. But once they get to a certain level and start playing with sitting at the big boy table, I don't see them being effective at all. Several other parties have had kind of similar issues. It's just because they have a right wing slant to it, and they're taking notes from Donald Trump, that the media, the Western media, YouTube media, has picked up on it. But me personally, I don't think it's something to really worry about. The sentiment in the Tokyo area and the major cities I see isn't like anti-foreigner at all. Like nothing has really changed. The only thing like you'll see is just like a few people maybe complaining, but generally speaking, when Japanese people complain about something in their lives, they complain to the government, right? So the government is scared of the people here, right? And traditionally, my opinion about America is people were more afraid of the government, but it's the reverse. So I would say just coming here, there's really nothing to worry about. It doesn't change anything. I don't think about it at all. I haven't seen any Sanseito stuff at all. Yes, I wouldn't go to one of their rallies being like, "Hey," but you're not gonna get jumped if you do anything. But let me know with a like or a comment. Please don't take any of my political views for anything. It's just me giving you what based on what I see. Let me know with a like or a comment what you think. Here's another video that's not related to politics, and I'll holler at you soon. Peace.